All right, welcome everybody. Today is Wednesday, July 5th, 2023. It's 10 a.m. and this is the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners meeting that I will call to order. We have all three commissioners here today, so we do have a quorum. Before we start off with our recognition and proclamation, we're going to kind of continue something we've been doing with our PIO, Ken Lip, where he's just showing us a little bit of the new website and how to interact with it. So give it to you, Ken.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm Ken Lip, the Public Information Officer. I just want to show you again how you can find information during a public meeting about a public meeting. You go to Lincoln County's homepage, co.lincoln.or.us. Scroll down right here, click on Agendas and Minutes. You find the meeting that you'd like to see. Today's July 5th. And then you've got a couple of different options. You can go here to Meeting Files, see the agenda right here, the agenda packet, which is all the documents connected to the meeting. Here under Other is the submitted public comment. Then your other option is to come to the top left for Meeting Overview. And you can find the documents attached where they belong in the item on the agenda here. Something else I would like to mention coming up soon, you're going to find the meetings streaming here under Meeting Media. We're going to be transitioning from the YouTube live stream to this area for people to watch the meeting live. We'll continue to upload the meetings to our YouTube page sometime after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we're moving to recognition and proclamation. As we typically do with our first meeting of each month, we recognize our employees for their length of service. And so when I call your name, you can come up, and today it's Doug, our county council, that's giving out the awards. And so we do those in 5-year increments for our employees. So first up is Lisa Liddell from Community Justice, 35 years of service. Is Lisa here? No. Okay, we'll get that one to her. All right, Clinton Blazer, Public Works, 25 years of service. I don't see Clint. Okay. Danielle Martinez, Human Resources, 10 years of service. Yay. There we go. Thank you. Stephen Britt, Community Justice, 35 years of service. Don't see them. All right. And Douglas Hans, Sheriff's Office, 5 years of service. Don't see them either. All right. Well, we will make sure that their awards and certificates get to them. So thank you for their years of service. And next up is our new hires. And I think Jaylene Cook is maybe presenting that. Come on up, Jaylene.
Thank you, Commissioners, Chair. My name is Jaylene Cook, and I am the Assistant HR Director for Lincoln County. I'll be introducing a few folks that weren't able to join us in person today, and then I'll have the new hires that were come up and introduce themselves. So we have William Wren, who joined us in the Sheriff's Office as a Corrections Deputy. Michelle Partridge is a mental health nurse in Health and Human Services Department. Jason Lewis is returning to us as a Youth Care Specialist part-time in the Community Justice Department. Kanoa Blake is joining as a Marine Cadet in the Sheriff's Office. And Haley Meekumson is also joining as a Marine Cadet in the Sheriff's Office.
Okay, we have a few in person. Hi, welcome. Come on up and just state your name and the department and job you're with.
My name is Aaron Brooks, and I'm the patrol deputy of the mission.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good morning. My name is Mike Bowman. I'm a new parole and probation officer. Community Justice.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Thanks. Good morning.
My name is Ron Bonnie, and I'm new Development of Disability Service Coordinator.
Welcome.
Welcome.
All right, so we're going to make everyone go over there and we're going to take a photo. All together, yeah. Oh, Ken's gonna go get his camera. All right, thank you to all our new employees and our current employees. We appreciate you. Next, we're moving on to the adoption of the consent calendar. So these are items of a routine nature, but either staff or commissioners can pull for further discussion or information. Kind of a light load this week because we had a special meeting last week, so we were able to kind of clear the deck a little bit. But is there any item on the consent calendar for today that commissioners or staff would like to pull or further discuss or highlight?
Madam Chair, I'll move for adoption of the consent calendar as presented.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, now we're moving on to our public hearing. This is public hearing case file 02ZCPC22 applicant Mike Wilson hearing considering a zone change from PF Public Facilities to RR5 Rural Residential on 2 tax lots totaling 55.11 acres. So because this is a public hearing and a land use hearing on that, there is very set of requirements you have to follow to go through this. So first I'm going to open the hearing. Today we are continuing a public hearing on case file 02ZCPC22 to consider a request by Michael Wilson for a zone change of the Olala Golf Course from PF, Public Facilities to RR5 Rural Residential on 2 tax lots totaling 55.11 acres, and I hereby reopen this hearing. This is a hearing continued from June 14th, 2023, when a party requested the record remain open. The board gave the requesting party until June 21st, 2023 to submit any further evidence or argument addressing the criteria for the rezoning application. The board gave the applicant until June 29th, 2023 to file in a response to the party's opponent's submission. I am here acknowledging the record has been supplemented by documents submitted by opponent Cynthia George and by the applicant's attorney Tracy McDowell. For the benefit of everyone, the record is closed. So the board is not accepting any further testimony, comments, or other evidence, but will instead deliberate on the record before us and vote on the application based on the evidence and the land use criteria we're required to follow. So at this time, I ask the Board of Commissioners to disclose any ex parte communications they might have had and or any bias or conflicts of interest they may have had regarding this application.
None.
None
None.
from me. Okay. So now it is open to us to deliberate. Anyone wish to begin?
No. I'm pleased with the process. I think it was a good idea to keep things open. Imagine we'll be moving forward today. It's where we were headed last week or the week before.
Yeah, I believe this request checks all the boxes of what is permissible under the statutes and code that we're operating under. So I'm going to favor going ahead.
Yeah, and I would say that while there was concerns raised by the public around the development of this potential property for housing, what is on the table in this hearing is not the development, but the zone change. And so there still could be further development under a public facilities zone change. This is really just, is there a reason to change the zone? This is not about, potential development. So I would say I am also, leaning towards the side of going ahead and allowing the zone change because I don't see a legal reason or explanation around disallowing the zone change.
Could I ask Mr. Holbrook a question or two?
Yeah.
So if we approve this today, the owner would still, am I correct that the owner would still have to apply separately to subdivide the lot if they want, or the property if they wanted to do additional houses?
That's correct, Commissioner. Would require a full public hearing about this.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions from Commissioner Miller? No?
None for me. Thank you.
Okay. So are we ready for a motion?
Let's see. I move that we approve the zone change request from Mike Wilson on 2 tax slots totaling 55.11 acres. Applicant Mike Wilson, case file number 02-ZC-PC-22.
And I'd second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. All right, motion carries. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and adjourn the land use hearing before we proceed on other agenda items. So now we're moving out of the land use hearing into our regular part of the meeting, which is decision and action, talking about county ARPA allocations.
Commissioner Chair, Tim Johnson, County Administrator. This is our second review of the American Rescue Plan Act for the remaining allocation. And within the context of this, we identified previously a series of different options, from spay and neuter to broadband programming, winter sheltering, support on the state courtrooms for infrastructure issues related to the facility, affordable housing, county parks. Again, conversion to digital records in the clerk's office, which we've done with the assessor's office, as well as planning and development. Election observation cameras. One of the things that we recently found out, we need desperately are backup generators for this building. And then subsequent allocation of monies for nonprofit support groups throughout the county. And then lastly, when we've gone through our most recent emergency preparedness activities here on our county campus, we found that we're shy of a variety of different tools and resources in order to address the unfortunate circumstance should an emergency arise, either man-made or natural, here in our facility. So with that, that is the corresponding allocation associated with it. May I just add this? The county puts out 1.25 million a year to a host of different grant programs. Specifically, we're in a grant program right now for community service programs for nonprofits across the county. What we're recommending is in addition to not that program, but yet a separate and unique program utilizing ARPA rather than fund monies for this activity. So hopefully that would support folks during this period of time in the post-COVID environment, and what that money is specifically designed to do. I can take any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Hall, questions? Commissioner Miller, questions?
I guess one question would be, how do we want to moving forward? What might be prioritized first in your minds, or should we work on that for, especially from a staff capacity?
So a couple things that are happening very quickly, and I want to make draw attention to everybody on this. There's been a tremendous amount of work that has been done in this county through state grant programs. This first one that I want to bring to your attention is a homeless strategic plan for which the county and corresponding community groups worked diligently with cities and the tribes in the formulation of a strategic plan. That will be in the draft form in August. And I think that will be giving us significant input relative to the concept of a pending winter shelter for this upcoming year. So in a priority, that would be one right away. The second one that I think falls into similar category. The county wrote a grant of over $300,000 several years ago for broadband. And that program became so significant that it became a regional activity with Lynn, Benton, and Lane counties and ourselves. That report will be completed in August as well. So correspondingly, where we see immediate opportunities or linking with those programs, because it will give us a roadmap of next steps. Continuing on, I think that the staff has identified opportunities. Let me just stop for a moment. This poor building is kind of having a tough time right now. And on the south side of this building, we have had significant water damage. And as such, the external wall will need to be removed as we look for internal water damage on the building. Redeveloped during the course of the month of end of this month and all of August, hopefully being able to resolve these issues. So at the same time, that capital improvement project would be going on. We would also look at the fact that we'll have to close at least one courtroom at that time. So we would correspondingly do the flooring upgrading from what is the carpet to planking in reducing COVID-19 issues in the courtroom, which was an issue earlier on. And it has been an issue for all courts in the state of Oregon. And so American Rescue Plan Act monies have been used accordingly for that. Recall the legislature in 1984 changed the law, and since then, counties have been responsible for state courts and their facilities and subsequent updates and maintenance. So, it is our responsibility. Correspondingly with that, I think that there are several programs that county staff can help initiate for folks. Digital recording in the clerk's office, the election observation cameras. This is in addition to the cameras that have already been acquired and put into place for elections. And as we're starting to find, there could be a change with elections in Oregon anyway that may change the way that we utilize those cameras for even greater depth of review. The generators are something that we can initiate through our IT department in relatively short order. What we would like to recommend to you is that we are in the midst of the deployment right now, taking applications from nonprofit organizations and community services. We'd like to get through that process, make those awards, have you approve those awards, and then initiate another round shortly after that. And I would suspect that would be later this fall. And if that meets with your needs, that's how that time would work.
I think that would also give our nonprofits time to do some of their own due diligence on what they can use ARPA funds for, which
Yeah.
is different than what you can use county general funds for.
So what we're doing right now is the usual general fund operational support for the nonprofits, and then the ARPA would roll out this fall.
That's correct. And to the commissioners, the chair's point, ARPA has a different trigger point to it. And this is what's important for folks to understand. There's not much we can do about it. The guidelines from the federal government, U.S. Treasury identify that folks have to go through a variety of reporting. First off, they have to have audited books. That constitutes some issues, some smaller nonprofits. So we need to work with the smaller nonprofits throughout the county in order to support them going through the process. Also, within the context of that, there are all reporting requirements for diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is an extensive amount of work. And every 90 days, they will go through a review, and they can be subject to a federal audit themselves. Is that happening? Oh, yeah, it is across the country. There are organizations that are doing that. As such, it is something to be aware of. It sounds like it's great money, but you have to think of the consequences. Any good organization has the funding capacity to address those problems.
Commissioner Miller, other questions from you?
No, thank you.
Yeah, I would just reiterate what County Manager Johnson said. I think some of these projects are gonna take staff time. Well, all of them are gonna take someone's staff time, but I think some are more easily to move forward, such as with the generators, maintenance is standing by and like ready to order, as soon as they have the green light to do that. The 2 clerks project, they're ready to take leadership on that. They've already been doing some of the digital records and can simply could just get more done by having more money. So they're ready to do that. So these, do take some staff time, but I think for the most part, we do have staff lined up. Some of the other ones, such as the grant program, as you mentioned, Tim, we'll have to kind of get in line as we finish up one and get ready for the other, but I think there is capacity to do these things. The other thing I just wanted to say again, which we said the last time we talked about this several weeks ago, is we do need to get this money allocated. There is reason to believe that if we do not get it allocated and do not spend it, that it will be taken away from us. And so, the most important piece, I think, is allocating this money. So it's not taken back from us. If we have to wait a little bit internally till the fall or whatever to launch some of this stuff, I feel that puts us in a much better spot than having the money unallocated and kind of unprotected. And that is a real risk. And we have been told by our federal partners to allocate and spend out because there is reason to believe that they're coming for it. So,
Madam Chair, with that in mind, and Administrator Johnson, will another order come back to us for the allocation, or is this activity we've done today sufficient to document that we intend?
So you initiate a board order later this week.
Okay.
And this will then allow us to go ahead and issue this activity. Separate from the awards that will come back to you with the nonprofit allocation to the organizations and everything else would be immediately.
Okay. Very good.
okay. So do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I just want to say, I think it's a good, well thought out list from the beginning when we knew we were getting an allocation of ARPA money. I think we brought a lot of people in the organization together and looked for useful projects that also meet the guidelines of the act. So I move that we approve the proposed county ARPA allocations.
Second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and I was just going to say, we did actually get some public comment from the Humane Society on one of our items as well. So thanks for submitting that.
Yep.
All right, moving on to discussion information. We have a second reading of ordinance 531 relating to taxes, creating new provisions, amending LCC 5010 and 5012 and referring the ordinance to the voters for approval presented by County Council Yule and County Park Supervisor Kelly Perry. Welcome.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kelly Perry Parks. So would you like the federal grant or would you?
I'm okay with title only.
Title only.
Title only?
Title,
Okay.
that's fine.
For the Board of Commissioners, County Oregon, the ordinance 531 relating to taxes, creating new provisions, amending LCC 510 and 510 and referring the ordinance to the Commissioners, this is the second reading of ordinance 531, proposing to increase the transient food tax from its current 10% to 12%. The cities, the outlying cities, Newport, Cleveland City are our cap. This program
those rates. The proposal is that 1/3, so the 2% increase, 1/3 would go to the general fund, the remainder would go to county parks. So within the ordinance, this would fund, so 70% would fund ongoing operation support, improvements for recreation, preservation, and enhancement. of the parks.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could the allocation also, I mean, the description you provided, would that also potentially cover property acquisitions? Okay,
There are questions for you, Commissioner Hall?
not right now.
Yeah,
Commissioner Miller,
no,
questions?
no questions for me. Excited to put this before the community.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that this would be us potentially passing this to go to voters, not making that decision, but by law, we would have to send this to voters for them to.
And an oddity in statutes is we have to refer it out. I think it's a good idea anyway, but that the cities are able to increase their TRT without a public vote. But it's one of the differentiations of power between county and city.
And Ms. Yule, when would this go on the ballot?
And the election. We have requirements.
Under decision action? Okay. Great, I think, are we in agreement to have her come back for decision action on the 19th?
I think so.
Yes,
Okay,
Yep.
all right, thank you.
thank you both.
All right, next up is reports. Commissioner Hall, do you have anything to report?
Last Thursday, I attended an all-day meeting in Salem for the chairs of the state's area commissions on transportation. I'm still getting oriented in that role, but I think I've got a much better foundation on what the challenges are statewide and regionally over these next few years and what some of the potential policies might be to address them.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Hall. That was one of Commissioner Hunt's committees I do
That's right.
recall. So as he left and Commissioner Miller came in, things were kind of switched around. So appreciate you taking that one up. Commissioner Miller, anything to report?
Well, Madam Chair, I think you're probably going to talk about fire. So I'm just going to pass on my report and watch you.
How did you know? Maybe because I had this in front of me? Yeah. So I think as everyone probably knows, we did have a fire earlier this week. As a result of potential fireworks, though my understanding is a full investigation is going to be going on. This was south of Walport. It's been in many of our news sources. And so I guess what I just wanted to say is, we had a talk right before 4th of July about a possible ban. There were some issues with fireworks already being sold and that kind of stuff. Additionally, I would say for the cities that did have various fireworks ban in place, those were not consistent things. The ordinances were a little bit different in each place. So it was a little bit confusing. Although I will say residing in Newport, it seemed to me, at least from noise, that there was compliance or some compliance to that rule. So I would just say that I think this year to address this issue, we really do need to start early. What I am committed to doing as kind of chair's rights here is trying to get all of our city councils together in one large meeting as we did for COVID. I'm sure Commissioner Hall remembers those meetings.
Of course.
At least we wouldn't have to do them on Zoom. This time we
Right.
could actually do in person. And try to discuss a trigger point or something that would trigger ordinances across cities, but additionally, really trying to have the same content and the same ordinance and making sure that we have some consistency between our cities. So that is something probably in late summer, early fall, I will try to start convening with all of our cities, assuming they're willing to have this conversation. So we can start, again, having the conversation, looking at a potential ordinance, looking at the same ordinance, and also communicating very early with firework vendors so that, they have a clear expectation of what may or may not happen in the fall and summer.
Madam Chair, procedurally, do you think we should each bring this up when we meet with jurisdictions, or should we do an email to all our city managers? Like, how do we maybe make sure people want to be at the table for the joint meeting. I think.
Yeah,
it's-
I think we could send a letter maybe to mayors and city managers, letting them know that we're interested in having a group conversation. Does that sound?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay, all
Okay.
right. I don't think we need a full order for that. We just have a consensus and we can work
Yeah.
with staff to create a letter, and then a subsequent doodle poll, which I'm sure will be challenging,
well, you know it
after
can be
we.
done. You've
Yeah,
done it.
I have done it, yes.
Yes.
So I think after we send that letter out, we can see who's interested in having that dialogue with us. But I think really pulling everyone in to have the same conversation would be important, so.
Yeah. And Madam Chair, I think I would just add, I think it's something that's even given us, that little kick in the butt to be aware for us and how we even work together as a team here inside. So I'm glad things didn't escalate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've seen on social media, some people trying to say, oh, just a beach fire, no big deal, but tell that to the folks who are under level 2 and level 3 evacuation alerts.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
points.
Absolutely. Okay, thanks. So we will work with staff on getting a letter out. Any other thing to report from either of you? No?
No, thank you.
Okay, any other reports from staff? Nope.
Nope.
Okay, so moving on to public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. We did have written public comment come in through our Smart Sheets form that we received earlier. First, we'll see if we have any online public comment or, sorry, nobody online. Okay. So now we'll move on to in-person public comment. We do have a public comment sign and sheet. So Ken, if you want to tell me who is on there, that would be helpful. Okay, David, welcome. Come up and introduce yourself for a record, and you have 3 minutes for public comment. Thank you.
All right. Morning, David.
Hi, guys. My name's David Estes. I'm here representing, standing up with Central Coast Humane Society. I am here representing what we're referring to as colony owners. It's owners of feral cats that live in our society. And so today I'm just gonna kind of outline what I have dealt with in the few years that I've been dealing with the colony. I live in Toledo. I had a house become condemned next door, directly next door. And between myself and a pair of neighbors in front of me, we noted the cats congregated. And there were only a few to start with within the first year, but it wasn't long until it turned into a pretty big colony. I think colony is a good way to refer to it because at this point in time, I'm at approximately 40 cats. They're increasing by the week. We're having litter after litter. In October, we found ourselves, the neighbors and myself, having trouble just keeping up with the cats. Besides feeding them, there's a lot of other duties that go along with keeping a healthy colony. And so funding was becoming a problem with just that issue, but we thought that by feeding them and giving them some health benefits and so forth, that we were doing our part. But as we saw the colony grow, we knew that that wasn't the case. Just over the issue with the food, we did contact the Humane Society, the Central Coast Humane Society, and they were more than willing to help. But we also found that they were willing to help us spay and neuter. And we saw that the root of the problem because we were doing fine with the initial colony, but as it grew and grew and grew, it just became out of control. And so with their help, we've been able to, since October, we've spayed and neutered 25 cats. We've actually adopted out 8 kittens out of all those cats. We could actually spay and neuter a cat at 2 pounds, and I believe they have to just be able to eat solid foods. So, we're able to get some of these kittens in the homes really quickly and give them a good life. And those that don't get that special life, they're spayed and neutered through the Humane Society and take them out. But the people that are involved, the volunteers, are godsend. They devote so much time and effort into this process, just helping us with the equipment, helping us trap, so on and so forth. Again, I can't even say enough. I could speak more than 3 minutes on how much they do for us, but without them, we'd be lost. But what our problems are at this point in time, I don't think it's at this point in time, and it's been an ongoing problem, is funding. the kitty season prone to kind of follow the warmth of the seasons. So it came to be in May, we had scheduled, we generally schedule 1 or 2 trap-ins for my particular pond per month.
And you're at 3 minutes, so I'll let you finish up.
Okay,
And yeah,
so what ended up happening was the funding was unavailable for the month of May. And in fact, that was the month that we had produced probably about a dozen kids. So at that point in time, we rescheduled for June. These poor people, they spent so much time funding this project. In the end, we were able to get it back to complete some work in June, but I was actually postponing it in until the funding and the fact that only project not only signing up and had so many birth defects from ingredients. So I just really want to stress that the main point is we've got volunteers, we've got society, we've got neighborhood members that want to help enough. But they want to help with the funding and make our job.
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, well, that's very,
Okay.
So, good morning, and this will be my last time you guys will ever see me in here. You might hear from me, but you sure won't see me. Really disappointed, you know, it was 6 years ago today that I came in. You guys had destroyed my dispensary. So I come in here today to hear that you are putting families potentially at risk on that, even the owner. You know, by you guys allowing that property to become a RR5, it no longer will have the requirements of water testing. Now you can, as single dwellers come on there and including the person that's living on there, they'll no longer have to be informed as to what's in that water. Nobody will ever know. That's what you've done by this, allowing this to go through. There's no requirements for water testing. So that place would use pesticides all those years. And failed water system, failed well there. And it's reported in your health department. And now no one, you're put family after family at risk. And think about all those families that were downstream that never had their wells tested and will never know what you've allowed to go into their waterways. So you guys, as far as I'm concerned, don't deserve another tax credit, another grant, another fake I care, because you don't. You've never shown you cared about this environment. You still don't, Casey. You still don't. You're still not holding anybody accountable for what's going on in this environment, but you got your hands out. And now you're funding a whole bunch of people jobs, paper pushers, for what? You don't protect. That's your only job, is to protect the public. And you failed miserably year after year after year. And now you fund the failing, Claire, with your housing development over there. I noticed you're on the board putting people in a flood zone in Toledo on a possible toxic waste zone. So you guys have you've done great jobs. Katie, great job protecting the seafood all those years. And now you just give them a rubber stamp them and pretend you got an environmental zoner. Really? Really? It's all just paper. You guys take care of yourself.
Okay, thank you. All
I'm out.
right, next
Okay.
public comment. Okay.
morning, Barbara.
Morning, 3 minutes.
My name is Barbara Perry. I'm president of Central Coast Humane Society. And I'd like to thank you for voting for spending through the ARPA funding. We have always had a her program. It's been for pets. It's advantageous because there's no new litters, but there's maybe more cats and dogs and there's home food. And it also is drastically reduces the incidence of reproductive cancers. For community tax, symptom of the really increase in numbers. And as David referred to, we see a lot of inbreeding now, a lot of birth defects. Before COVID, our average colony in the death return was about 25. After COVID, we didn't tell us now where the colonies are upwards of 50. So it's a real challenge to bring those numbers down, make the communities more livable, have less cat fighting and violence, and in general, irritate a lot of neighbors because of it. So stabilizing the colonies, roots, CNR roots, we've proven that locally as well as nationally. Interestingly enough, we talked to a county in Illinois that had the same problem through some funding for about 5 to 7 years, some ordinance changes, some state laws. They really concentrated on community tax and were able to bring those numbers to zero. No new tax were burned after they dedicated this program for 5 to 7 years. And the tax they had were healthy, colony stable, no new complaints from neighbors, no birth defects, no nothing. So we're moving toward that. We would like to see that happen here because we desperately need it. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning. Thank you for your time. I'm the colony cat coordinator for Central Coast Humane Society. So not to pile on, but I wanted to describe a day in the life in my role. This day was last week. At 6 o'clock, I live in Lincoln City. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm out in Otis, working with a woman who had 4 cats dumped on her property. Those cats have produced 12 kittens. So I'm there to try to capture the kittens, to get them out of there, to hopefully get them to be socialized at a foster, and then to a rescue so they can pay for the spay neuter for those kittens. While I'm there, we find one additional litter of 4 kittens that are 2 to 3 days old. So I know I'll be back there in 6 to 8 weeks, trying to go after those. That woman's quote was, "I'm at my wit's end." She's feeding all of these cats. It started with 4, it's expanding. On my way home, I stopped at a home in Lincoln City. There was 1 female cat abandoned on that property, and she gave birth to 6 kittens. This woman is working with her neighbors to try to socialize them, but they can't pay for the spay neuter services. Her quote was, "We just didn't know what to do." When I get home, I've got 6 other outstanding calls that came in through our phone lines for a total of 28 additional cats that need the same kind of trapping and spay neuter services. That's not to mention the 1 call that is for about 30 cats on 1 property outside of Toledo. This is countywide. This is 1 day, but it's not an isolated day. This doesn't even count the colony trapping that Mr. Estes spoke of. These are just random calls coming in. I remind you of the quotes. "I'm at wit's end. We just didn't know what to do." If anyone asks you if we need your support, we do. We need the resource of money, volunteers, and vet appointments, and a financial commitment that you all are talking about is a path to all of those. So I can't thank you enough for your leadership and considering that program. I also want to say that, this really sounds like it's about cats. This is not, it is about cats, but it's not just about cats. All these people are in desperate need of help
to do the right thing. They're all almost always willing to do the right thing. They're feeding these cats. They're looking out after them. They care enough to call us. This is about people in this community. And it's about the kind of community that we show others we want to be by demonstrating that we will make a commitment to responsible pet ownership. So again, I can't.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah.
Works, I've never been for bird meeting and they're definitely not going weird. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they're dull, but it's not always fun.
I'm here today because, I bought a piece of property through, the property management. It wasn't even at an auction and, but 4 years ago. And I received a letter from Amy Howard saying, after I made the down payment on a few payments, just a 3-line letter, you know, for our phone conversation on January 29th, 2019. And enclosed the money orders you dropped off at my office on Monday, January 28th, 2019. They're returning them to you, and as legal counsel is currently counseling your land sales contract with Lincoln County. It's a 3-page letter. So here I thought, well, that's great. We curled up in the fetal position on a hospital bed, and I'm trying to explain to her at that point. I am sick. I made the payment to you. Yes, I was 30 days late, but why aren't you exercising the late fee? Well, that's not how we do business. And I go, okay, well, what about my down payment money? Well, we're keeping that. We're taking the land back. Have a nice day. Like, so that was what, a long time ago. And so all this time, I thought, okay, great. Nothing I could do. I didn't think, so life went on. And then I get this phone call 3 weeks ago from the county tax assessor's office. Saying they're gonna foreclose on my property. And I'm like, what property are you referring to? And then they told me, and I was shocked that she had left it in my name, which was great for me. So here I had that amount of time 3 weeks ago to scramble up all this money. Which I did. I pulled off a small miracle. But then I'm working with a great guy, Brian Melnick. And he's been working with me and said, he brought it up, I guess, to you guys, and that you guys were going to allow me to move on with the property and purchase it, which would be great. But there's $8,552.50 of interest. I just feel like it's not fair to me. Plus the $1,718.18. So tax assessor's office here, which I have all the checks right here. And pulled off the miracle, they're all cashier's checks, they're made out to everyone. But is there any way I can convince the board to release some of this interest money, at least so I could spend it on maybe a building permit? You know, it's not like it would be iterating back into your guys' pot, I guess you would say. I mean, that's a lot of money. I have 2 toddlers with special needs, which took on 2 years ago. They're 5 to 6 years old now. They're doing great, thanks to this community. They're wrapped around, they're in everything they need. But this money would really help me get a jump start on a future for these kids, is what I'm trying to do. That's this, you know, I had it all the way down to $15,186.17. And why this happened, I just don't understand why they felt her legal counsel, as she put it, who felt the need to do this instead of exercise late fee.
Okay, so you are at time, but I would suggest the meeting is almost over. So if you could stay a couple more minutes, I
Yeah.
think that would be helpful and we'll get some contact information from you.
That would
Yeah.
be great.
Okay.
Because it's been really hard to do this in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
Yeah, thank you. We'll
Okay,
we'll
thank
connect
you
right
so
after the
much.
meeting here.
Wasn't worth the water.
Okay, any other public comment? Nope. Anyone else in the room that wants to give public comment? No, okay. What do I do with my agenda? Here we go. All right, so our next meeting is Monday. No, that's our office meeting. Our next Board of Commissioners meeting is Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. which will be both in this room and a hybrid. And with that,